Imagine walking down a dark, foggy sidewalk and encountering a tall, dark stranger. Now, I know a lot of Bookstagram girlies who'd probably enjoy that, even if that stranger drains them of their blood. But hey, that's the world we live in these days. But now imagine instead having a conversation with that stranger who may or may not be a blood-sucking vampire. Yeah, I'm pretty sure those are kind of the same thing, actually. Hey, welcome back to the final Author Awareness April episode of The Right Way, where we talk book recs, creative writing tips, and especially this month, author interviews. I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones, and this is what's coming up over the next few weeks. Next week, of course, is Free Comic Book Day. Beyond that, the only other event I have coming up is the Visalia Books and Brews event in Visalia, California on May 16th. Beyond that, I don't have any other announcements, so let's jump into this last interview. I first interacted with this week's interviewee during our college days in Central California. We lost track of each other in the remaining years, and we finally reconnected back in February during the Moonlit Revelry Ball. It was great to get reconnected with him, and I'm eager to introduce his work to my audience. So please join me in welcoming David Ajluni. All right, David, welcome to the show. Tell me about it, what it is that you write.
So I write horror. It's kind of my ground zero. I feel like horror, more than any other genre, can better explore just the gamut of human emotion.
That's cool. And so what are your books about? Because I know that you've got 2 titles right now.
Well, I actually have 4, believe it or not. I was selling 2 at the last event I was at. But I do have 4. My first one came out in 2022, I believe. It'll say 2023 because I actually pulled it and did a little more editing, and then I republished it in 2023. But it first came out in 2022. It's called Candelabra. It's a novella about a guy, early 20s. He's house sitting for his parents. He thinks that they have rats at first because he notices some weird stuff going on in the attic, and he finds a couple of artifacts. And not going to give away too much, but his house is being haunted. We'll just put it that way.
Well, that's cool. So, how did you get into writing? Was this something that you've always wanted to do, or like you just got to a point where I need to write a book?
So that's an interesting story. I've always been interested in creative endeavors. I've done music before. I recorded 4 albums in my teens and early 20s. I've acted in a lot of things. I've acted in a few films. I've acted in a little bit of theater. And a while back, like in college to be exact, I realized that just kind of a combination of all of my creative hobbies would be filmmaking. And so I started making films. I think pretty soon, either in college or right after I left college, I started making movies. And I was making short films for a long time. And after years of planning, I was finally ready to make a feature film. And I had planned everything out. I was planning on distribution, the whole 9 yards. And I was hoping that it would be just successful enough to let me do another film. Eventually I would live like a starving artist, I guess, if you will,
Right.
So that was working out really well. I got an incredible cast. I reunited with a college buddy of mine who was teaching an acting class in Hanford. And he let me use one of his whole classes as an audition. And everyone, there were some people who didn't audition. They didn't want to be a part of the film. Totally fine, He presented it to the students. we're making this film, or my friend's going to do this film, and he needs actors, and so we're all happy to audition, most of them at least. Anyway, I'm rambling, but basically, I planned this film out, and I got it mostly shot. There were a couple of like just little shots I had to do still, and I was in the editing process, and my family and I went down to LA to see a show. This was 2021 by this point. Our car got broken into, and I made the mistake of bringing my computer bag down with me, hoping I'll get to do a little editing on the road. Yeah.
Oh, that's so painful.
It was devastating, and it quite frankly it was kind of life altering. It was really bad. I had been planning for so many years to do this, and I lost it, and I didn't back it up. That was incredibly stupid of me not to back it up.
Yeah.
I've learned since, I promise you. But anyway, so I tried to reshoot it for a while. It just wasn't happening. I mean, sometimes you can only make magic once, and so I just kind of needed to just take a step back from filmmaking because it was just too hurtful, and I was grieving the loss of that film because I had such high hopes for it, and it was turning out so good. And so I just thought to myself, well, I gotta keep. I mean, these stories are too good, so I started writing, and I had always been curious. I'd always written stories kind of my whole life, just on and off. You know what I mean? And I always thought kind of the pinnacle of writing or telling a story would be writing a book. I mean, a screenplay at the end of the day is just blueprints. I've written several screenplays, and I mean, almost immediately, my wife was telling me, like, as soon as we met almost, and she figured out what I was all about, she was telling me my biggest skill was writing. I'd write my own scripts, and then I'd shoot the films, and so on and so forth. And she said, "You're a better writer than anything else." And I kind of understood it. I felt really comfortable writing, and I would always get really positive reaction. The actors were always very impressed with my scripts. At the end of the day, those are blueprints, and so I always had this like thought in my head. Well, I think the ultimate test of a good writer is somebody who can write a good book, because you basically create a film inside somebody's head.
Yeah.
So you've got to be clear enough, articulate enough for them to understand it, for them to be moved by it. You got to just kind of work their brains exactly where you want them to go. And so I thought, well, I need some healing right now, and I still need to tell these stories because I like them way too much, and I can't reshoot them. So I started writing, and that's when my first book, Candelabra, came out the following year. And it's a novella. It's only about 35,000 words. Actually, I think that's about 25,000 words. My second one was 35,000. And my second novella, A Friend Who Bleeds, was also based on that film I was making. It was going to be a horror anthology. And my two favorite stories were entitled Candelabra and A Friend Who Bleeds. And I made both of those those were my first two novellas. And then just because I was enjoying myself and I wanted to enter some competitions, I just wrote short stories all the while. And I've released two short story anthology books. The first one is Seriously Unsettling, Dark Stories, Some of Them True. Mm-hmm. And then the second one I was selling at the latest book event, which was The Other Side of the Door.
So what's been the hardest part or the biggest challenge that you've faced going through this process of becoming a published writer?
Finding an audience, for sure. I would absolutely love to stay an independent author and pay off my house at the same time. That would be super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, they say you're your best advocate, and I already share some profits with Amazon. I was able to self-publish. It's not like a situation where you have to write a query letter and go through all of that crap. Right. And you can be your own editor. What you write stays. End of story. If you want, as opposed to just the more conventional route. But then they've got all the connections, and they are, most professional publishers that you have to actually write a query to, and they have to, say yay or nay. They've got all the connections,
And it feels like there's a lot of gatekeeping as well.
Yeah, like a lot, I mean, I like to write what I want to write, and if somebody tries to tell me to write something different or change something or revise something, I get kind of frustrated, and it doesn't really. I've never been in that situation where somebody's been like hanging a whole bunch of money over my head like a carrot, and having to like completely revise my story. I don't know how I would feel about that.
If you were to give any advice to other would-be authors out there who are looking to write in the same genre or a different genre, what would you say to them, David?
just write. Write a lot. Read a lot as well. A good friend of mine who runs an audio publishing company with his wife, and he's also an author himself. Has really helped me out a lot, and that was his best advice for me. He says, if you want to write, read a lot, read a lot. And I'm somebody who's just I really like to challenge my brain and just actually read a book, but I had to concede defeat just because I wasn't reading enough books, and get an Audible subscription. Yeah, that's my best advice. Just read, 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 read. I felt like I was a pretty decent writer starting out, but I can't even relate to you how much my writing has improved when my reading increased. So not that I didn't read at all, but I didn't read enough. And so I read more, and I still read more, and I still seek to read even more than that. And my writing has just improved so much. I'm so much more comfortable in my narratives and so on and so forth. And then of course, like I said, probably reading's probably the more important, but also just write. Just mess around. If you got an idea, explore it, mess around a little bit. You know what I mean? If you're not confident yet, keep it short. I've got so many short stories. The short stories are so much fun too. I love writing short stories. I actually love writing short stories more than I thought I would. I was planning on just writing like novel after novel, but I've already got 2 short stories collections, and they literally make up 50% of my full catalog right now. Like I said, I have 2 novellas, and I've got 2 short stories collections. But short stories are a great way to kind of cut teeth. Like get started on just feeling comfortable with the whole process, and you start writing shorter stories. And then they can get longer the more comfortable you feel, the more you read. But that's probably my best advice.
That's great advice, David. So we're coming up to the end of the interview. How can people connect with you? How can they get copies of your work?
Awesome question. Thank you. So I have a link tree. It's got, and I did something a little different with my link tree. If you scan the QR code or whatever, somehow you get to my link tree, and I'll tell you how to get to it in a moment. You can immediately, right off of my link tree, buy each one of my titles in any format they're available. My 2 novellas are both paperback on Kindle, and they're also available on Audible. And then my 2 short stories books, Seriously Unsettling and The Other Side of the Door, are available on both Kindle and paperback. That being said, you Google my name, David Ajluni, DavidAjluni. You can find me immediately. Facebook, Instagram, those are the 2. Oh, TikTok. I just got back on TikTok as well. And the QR code's everywhere. And the link tree's everywhere too. If you get on my Facebook, the link tree is just right up at the top. You can see it immediately. That is the easiest way, and you'll have my entire catalog available to you.
Awesome, David. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's been great being here. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on new videos just like this one. A big thank you to my guest, David Ajluni. And if you'd like to connect with him, get copies of his work, or become a channel supporter, you can find all of those links down in the video description. Make sure to join me next week for picks of Free Comic Book Day, and keep on writing the right way.